Hello Chelsea fans. Welcome again to Chelsea HQ View for an amazing blog post about our beloved Chelsea FC. Chelsea's summer transfer drama, the Garnacho chase and Enzo's future under the spotlight. Picture this: you wake up on a quiet Tuesday morning, check your phone, and suddenly your coffee goes cold. Two massive Chelsea transfer stories have dropped overnight. Alejandro Garnacho might be heading to Stamford Bridge, and PSG are reportedly throwing around a jaw-dropping €150 million for Enzo Fernandez. Welcome to another wild day in the life of a Chelsea fan. If you thought this transfer window was winding down, think again. The Blues are making moves that could completely reshape their squad, and frankly, it's the kind of drama that makes football the beautiful game we all love. The Garnacho situation, a tale of two valuations. Let's start with the young Argentine winger who has caught Chelsea's eye. Alejandro Garnacho, just 21 years old, finds himself at the center of a transfer tug-of-war that perfectly captures everything we love and hate about modern football. Here's where things get interesting. Manchester United value their young star at £50 million. Chelsea, being Chelsea, have come in with a £35 million offer. That's not just a small gap, that's a £15 million chasm that could make or break this deal. But here's what makes this story even more compelling: Garnacho apparently wants the move. According to reports, personal terms are already agreed between the player and Chelsea. When a player wants to join your club that badly, it usually means something special is about to happen. Why does Garnacho want to leave United? This is where the story gets a bit sad, to be honest. Garnacho struggled for regular game time at Old Trafford last season. For a 21-year-old with bags of talent, sitting on the bench while your career should be taking off must be incredibly frustrating. Think about it from his perspective. You're young, talented, and full of dreams. But every weekend, you're watching from the sidelines while others get the chance to shine. At some point, you have to make a choice: stay comfortable or chase your dreams elsewhere. Manchester United seem to have made their position clear. They don't see Garnacho as a key part of their future plans. For a player of his ability, that must sting. But for Chelsea, it represents an incredible opportunity. What would Garnacho bring to Chelsea? Let's be real about what we're getting here. Garnacho isn't just another young player with potential. He's shown he can perform in the Premier League, even if it wasn't consistently at United. The kid has pace that can trouble any defense. His dribbling skills are already well developed, and he has that unpredictability that makes wingers so dangerous. When he gets the ball on his feet and runs at defenders, things happen. But perhaps most importantly, he has that hunger that comes from wanting to prove yourself. Players who feel they have something to prove often become the most dangerous additions to any squad. Raphael Varane, who knows a thing or two about talent, has called Garnacho a great talent. When a defender of Varane's caliber gives you that kind of praise, you sit up and take notice. The money game: can Chelsea bridge the gap? Here's where things get tricky. £15 million might not sound like much when you're dealing with football transfers these days, but it's still a significant amount. Both clubs will be digging in their heels. Manchester United will argue that Garnacho is a homegrown talent with Premier League experience and international potential. They'll point to his age and say that £50 million is actually quite reasonable for a player with his profile. Chelsea, on the other hand, will highlight Garnacho's limited playing time and question whether he's really worth £50 million when he couldn't get regular starts at his current club. The truth probably lies somewhere in between. A compromise around £42 to £43 million seems realistic, especially if Chelsea are serious about getting this deal done. How would Garnacho fit into Enzo Maresca's plans? This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Enzo Maresca is building something at Chelsea, and every signing needs to fit into his vision for the club. Garnacho's versatility is a huge plus. He can play on either wing, and in modern football, that flexibility is incredibly valuable. When you're competing in multiple competitions, having players who can slot into different positions without losing quality is essential. His work rate is also something that would appeal to Maresca. The Italian coach loves players who are willing to track back and help with defensive duties. From what we've seen of Garnacho, he's not shy about putting in the hard yards. But perhaps most importantly, he fits the profile of player that Chelsea have been targeting recently. Young, hungry, with room for improvement, and available at a reasonable price. It's exactly the kind of signing that makes sense for where the club is right now. The Enzo Fernandez bombshell: PSG's €150 million gamble. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Reports suggest that PSG are preparing a €150 million bid for Enzo Fernandez. That's roughly £130 million for those keeping track at home. It's the kind of number that makes you do a double take. When Chelsea signed Enzo from Benfica, it was already a record-breaking deal. Now, just over a year later, PSG think is worth even more. What does that tell us? Why would PSG want Enzo so badly? Let's start with the obvious. Enzo Fernandez is an exceptional player. His performance at the 2022 World Cup, where he helped Argentina win the whole thing, announced him to the world as a special talent. But PSG's interest goes deeper than just his ability. They're building a new project, and they want players who can be the foundation of that project for years to come. At 23, Enzo fits that profile perfectly. His passing ability is simply outstanding. The way he can pick out a teammate from 40 yards with pinpoint accuracy is the kind of skill that elevates entire teams. PSG probably see him as the perfect partner for their existing midfield players. There's also the fact that Enzo has already proven he can handle pressure. Playing for Argentina in a World Cup final and performing the way he did shows mental strength that money can't buy. Chelsea's dilemma: to sell or not to sell. This puts Chelsea in an incredibly difficult position. On one hand, €150 million is an enormous amount of money. It's the kind of sum that could fund multiple signings and completely transform the squad. On the other hand, Enzo Fernandez is exactly the type of player you build your team around. He's young, talented, and already showing signs of becoming one of the best midfielders in the world. The question Chelsea's board will be asking themselves is simple: can we find a replacement who's even half as good as Enzo? And if we can't, does the money really matter? Think about it this way. How many players are there in world football who can do what Enzo does? The answer is probably fewer than 10. When you have a player that rare, you don't usually let them go, regardless of the price. What this means for Chelsea's future. If Chelsea were to sell Enzo, it would send a clear message about the club's ambitions. Are they building for long-term success, or are they willing to cash in on their best players when big offers come in? The fans won't be happy if Enzo leaves. He's quickly become a favorite at Stamford Bridge, and losing him would feel like a step backward just when things were starting to look positive. But there's another side to this story. If Chelsea could use that €150 million wisely, they could potentially strengthen multiple positions and create a more balanced squad overall. It's the kind of decision that could define the club's direction for the next several years. The player's perspective: what does Enzo want? Here's where things get interesting. We haven't heard much from Enzo himself about this potential move. His silence could mean several things. Maybe he's happy at Chelsea and has no interest in leaving. The club took a big risk on him, and he might feel loyalty to them for giving him his big break in the Premier League. Or maybe he's keeping his options open. PSG can offer things that Chelsea currently can't: Champions League football, a realistic chance at winning major trophies, and the opportunity to play alongside some of the world's best players. Until Enzo speaks publicly about his future, we can only speculate about what he really wants. The bigger picture: what these transfers mean for Chelsea. Both of these transfer stories tell us something important about where Chelsea are right now as a club. They're in a transitional phase, trying to balance short-term needs with long-term planning. The Garnacho pursuit shows they're still thinking about the future. Signing a 21-year-old player is about building for tomorrow, not just solving today's problems. But the potential Enzo sale suggests they might also be pragmatic about their current situation. If PSG's offer is real, it would give Chelsea the financial flexibility to address multiple areas of weakness in their squad. Questions that need answering. As Chelsea fans, we're left with more questions than answers right now. Will the club be able to convince Manchester United to lower their asking price for Garnacho? Can they find a compromise that works for everyone? And what about Enzo? Is Chelsea's project compelling enough to convince him to stay, or will PSG's offer prove too tempting? These aren't easy questions, and the answers will probably define Chelsea's season and perhaps their next few years. The transfer window reality. Here's something we all need to remember: transfer windows are unpredictable. Stories that seem certain can fall apart overnight, while deals that nobody saw coming can materialize out of nowhere. The Ganacho situation could drag on until deadline day, with both clubs refusing to budge on their valuations. Or it could be wrapped up by the weekend if one side decides to compromise. Similarly, PSG's reported interest in Enzo could be genuine, or it could be nothing more than agent talk designed to put pressure on Chelsea. Until official bids are submitted and accepted, everything remains speculation. What should Chelsea fans hope for? If you're a Chelsea fan reading this, you probably have mixed feelings about both stories. The prospect of signing Garnacho is exciting, but losing Enzo would be devastating. In an ideal world, Chelsea would sign Garnacho and keep Enzo. That would give them a fantastic combination of youth and experience, pace and creativity, potential and proven quality. But football isn't an ideal world, and difficult decisions sometimes have to be made. If forced to choose, most fans would probably say keep Enzo and forget about Garnacho. The Argentine midfielder has already shown he can be a difference maker at the highest level. Garnacho, for all his potential, is still unproven. But that might not be a choice the club has to make. There's still time for both situations to develop, and stranger things have happened in football. The role of the fans. Throughout all of this transfer speculation, it's worth remembering the role that fans play in these decisions. Players notice when supporters get behind them, and it can influence their thinking about their future. If Chelsea fans can show Enzo how much he means to the club, it might help convince him to stay even if PSG come calling. Similarly, a warm welcome for Garnacho could help seal that deal if the clubs can agree on a fee. Football is ultimately about more than just money and contracts. It's about belonging somewhere and feeling valued. Chelsea fans have the power to make their players feel both of those things. This Sunday's big test, Crystal Palace at Stamford Bridge. Before we get too carried away with transfer talk, let's not forget about the football that actually matters. This Sunday, Chelsea kick off their 2025-26 Premier League campaign against Crystal Palace at Stamford Bridge. The 1 p.m. kickoff will be the first real test of how all this transfer speculation is affecting the team. Think about the timing here. We're talking about potentially signing Garnacho and possibly losing Enzo, all while the players need to focus on getting their season off to a good start. That's not easy for anyone, especially when you're trying to implement a new system under Enzo Maresca. Crystal Palace won't make it easy either. They're the kind of team that can cause problems for anyone on their day. They've got pace in attack, they're well organized defensively, and they'll be looking to spoil Chelsea's party at Stamford Bridge. What will we learn from the Palace game? This match could tell us a lot about where Chelsea really are right now. If they come out sharp and focused despite all the transfer noise, it suggests the squad has the mental strength to handle pressure. If they look distracted or disjointed, it might indicate that all this speculation is becoming a problem. Enzo Fernandez will be particularly interesting to watch. If he's really considering a move to PSG, how will that affect his performance? Will he be fully committed to Chelsea's cause, or will his head be elsewhere? On the flip side, a strong performance from Enzo could send a message to PSG that he's happy where he is and not interested in leaving. Sometimes actions speak louder than words in transfer situations. The absence of Garnacho will also be felt, assuming the deal isn't done by Sunday. Chelsea's attack will need to function without the potential new signing, which puts more pressure on the existing players to deliver. Palace's perspective, a chance to make a statement. From Crystal Palace's point of view, this is a massive opportunity. Playing against a Chelsea team that might be unsettled by transfer speculation could be the perfect way to start their own season. Palace have their own talented players who could cause Chelsea problems. They'll be confident about their chances, especially if Chelsea aren't at their best mentally. The atmosphere at Stamford Bridge will be interesting too. Chelsea fans will want to see their team start well, but they'll also have one eye on the transfer news. If the team performs poorly, it might increase pressure on the board to get deals done quickly. Looking ahead, the season that could define everything. With Sunday's opener against Crystal Palace looming, the upcoming season feels crucial for Chelsea. Enzo Maresca needs time to implement his ideas, and the players need to buy into his vision. If Garnacho arrives, he'll need time to adapt to a new club and a new system. If Enzo stays, he'll be under pressure to justify Chelsea's faith in him by helping the team achieve their goals. The transfer window might be grabbing all the headlines right now, but it's what happens on the pitch that really matters. Chelsea need to start the season well, regardless of who's wearing the shirt. Success in the early games could give everyone at the club confidence and momentum. Poor results might lead to more speculation about player futures and managerial pressure. Final thoughts: embracing the uncertainty. As frustrating as transfer speculation can be, it's also part of what makes football so compelling. The uncertainty, the drama, the possibility that everything could change overnight, it's all part of the experience. Chelsea fans have been through plenty of ups and downs over the years. They know that transfer windows can be both exciting and heartbreaking, sometimes within the space of a few hours. What matters most is that the club continues moving forward. Whether that's with Garnacho, with Enzo, with both, or with neither, the focus needs to be on building something sustainable for the future. The transfer window will eventually close, and when it does, Chelsea will have to work with whatever squad they've assembled. The key is making sure it's a squad that can compete, that can grow together, and that can give the fans something to believe in. Right now, With Garnacho potentially on his way and Enzo's future up in the air, anything feels possible. That's both exciting and terrifying, but it's what makes supporting Chelsea such a rollercoaster ride. Whatever happens in the coming days and weeks, one thing is certain, it's never boring being a Chelsea fan. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly how we like it. The summer transfer window is far from over, and if these two stories are anything to go by, we're in for quite a ride. Buckle up, Chelsea fans, it's going to be an interesting few weeks.